Welcome back to Stompbox Breakdown. This is an MXR M68 Uni-Vibe. Looks pretty good, and looks are important, but sounds are importanter, so let's see how it sounds. Let's start out with our clean signal. This is just my guitar and my amp, no effects at all. Alright, and now I'm going to bring in that UniVibe pedal. All three knobs straight in the middle. The vibe switch out so it's in chorus mode. Alright, so let's go through these knobs one at a time and talk about what they do. First, we got the speed knob. Obviously, this is going to affect the speed of that oscillation you're hearing. Let's bring that up. Bring it up all the way. And you'll notice, if I cut to this, the LED light on the front of this is actually pulsing with the speed of the oscillator, so you can see exactly how it's going. Set it all the way down. You hear something, it's very slow. All right, going to bring that back up to the middle. I got a level knob. Now, interesting thing about the level knob, it does not act like a mixer. It's actually how loud your overall signal is. So if I bring this all the way down, you get nothing. I can use this to boost the signal. In fact, it might be clipping the DAW over here. But this is handy because with certain modulation effects, there's a perceived overall loss of volume. So you can actually give yourself a little boost of volume with this to kind of make up for that. So here it is right down the middle. Bring up the volume a little bit. So it's the overall volume. Just wanted to point that out. And we got the depth knob. This is the overall intensity of the effect, how far it's gonna make that swirl, I guess. So I'm gonna bring that depth all the way up, and I'm gonna bring the level up a little bit more, just so you can hear that a little bit. Here that is. That's far out. Lastly, there's this vibe button up here. When I press it down, the little red light comes on. That lets you know it's in vibrato mode. When it's not on, that means it's in chorus mode. Up until now, we've been playing with it in chorus mode. So here it is in chorus mode. All right, you got that? And here it is in vibrato mode. I hope that comes through in YouTube. It's a slightly different effect, and we're going to talk about exactly what that difference is later. Let's put that all together and play a little something, right? So now I'm going to mix in a little bit of overdriven Uni-Vibe. I'm going to crank the knobs on this just a little bit. I'm going to set it into vibe mode, and I'm going to use what we just played as a backing track through my Electro Harmonix 720 looper. Let's see how that sounds. So this is one of those rare modulation effects that you can easily use for lead or rhythm. And I found that I like the chorus mode with the settings dialed pretty far back for the chordy stuff, and then vibrato mode with the depth and rate pushed way up further for the solos. Now that we played with it a little bit, you probably recognize that Uni-Vibe effect from something you heard before. Probably Jimi Hendrix, David Gilmour, or maybe Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden. But it's easy to hear it and think, oh, that's just like a really deep chorus, or maybe some sort of tremolo and or phaser. So let's get to the bottom of this. What the heck is a Uni-Vibe? I always just assumed it was some sort of a vibrato because it has the word vibe in it. But then I looked at one and I saw it has a chorus switch. But then I did a little reading and I found out that it's actually a kind of a phaser. But then I learned it was built to emulate the sound of a rotary speaker. So, huh? It's like someone made a soda machine for all the modulation and amplitude type effects and then just did one of these to it. And while some effects are born out of electrical, mechanical, or even natural phenomenon, distortion, compression, echo, flanging, you can even hear phaser type effects if you play around with radio equipment transmitting across really long distances. But the UniVibe is an effect that was invented on purpose. Granted, that purpose was to sound like a rotating speaker cabinet, the Leslie, but there's a number of interesting design choices in the UniVibe that make it something special. So first things first, let's talk about your basic phaser. Picture a flat ribbon with a twist in the middle. That twist is where the original signal mixes back in with a phase-shifted signal. When the two waves headed in opposite directions meet up, they cancel each other out. So you've got this notched out frequency where the sound just kind of gets black holed, and that notch gets oscillated back and forth like this. That's your standard phase shift effect, and I'm leaving out a whole lot of other important and interesting details because I want to get into all that stuff in a very in-depth phaser episode. Stay tuned for that. But that's all you need to know about it for right now. The MXR Phase 90 came out in 1972, and this is probably the pedal that most people think of when they think about a phaser effect. But the UniVibe came out in 1968, and it's a type of a phaser effect. But here's how they're pretty different. The UniVibe uses transistors to drive the phase inversion, where the MXR phasers use op-amps. Two different approaches, more than likely contributing to a different flavor when it comes to essentially splitting and flipping that signal. Compared with other modulation effects, which sound like a pretty straightforward sweep, the UniVibe has a pronounced throb. Ew. And that can possibly be chalked up to this crazy mechanism inside the effect where there's a bunch of light sensors packed in around a light bulb, like an actual light bulb, a little one, but an actual light bulb. And that's all inside this little metal box. So now you've got all that stuff acting as a function on the input signal. And that's just not something you can easily pull off with simple circuitry. I'll add that there are UniVibe pedals and also tremolo pedals that use that light and photocell arrangement. The Electro-Harmonix Good Vibes and the JHS Unicorn, they come to mind. This one fakes it with something. That flashing light is just for effect. It doesn't actually drive any photocells. But anyway. Lastly, the UniVibe operates in two modes, chorus and vibrato. Here's the deal with that. Take a signal and vary the pitch up and down a very small amount according to a low frequency oscillator, or LFO, and bam, you've got a vibrato. Mix that pitch shifted vibrato back in with the original signal, and now you've got a chorus. It's that simple. What a UniVibe is doing to that original signal is not exactly this. It's pitch shifting the signal, but not the whole signal. It's adding delay to certain frequencies and sweeping exactly what those frequencies are up and down. Vibrato mode is just that phase shift delay effect all by itself, and chorus mode takes that signal and mixes it back in with the original signal. So pretend they just use two different words instead of vibrato and chorus, like single and combined. Also keep in mind it was 1968 and they didn't know people were going to start making chorus and vibrato pedals after them, so give them a break. So UniVibe, is it a phaser? Yeah, but not the way you probably expect. Is it a chorus? Maybe technically, but not the way you're thinking. Is it a vibrato? All right, you can see where I'm going with this. I hate to do the thing where the definition is just the name of the thing, although that would kind of lead me into a Mitch Hedberg joke, which is pretty funny, but a UniVibe really is its own thing. And And now that I know a little bit more about this effect, I can picture myself using it in a couple instances where I might normally have reached for a chorus or a phaser or a tremolo. And this is likely to result in quite a few more cardboard boxes like this showing up at my door. So before I dig this hole any deeper, let me just wrap things up and say thank you for joining me on another episode of Stompbox Breakdown.